Hello everyone, welcome in 7th standard. And my dear students, today we shall start your first lesson. That name is the selfish giant. Okay, that name is the selfish giant. Okay, this lesson written by Oscar Wilde. He born on 1854 and died 1900. Okay, means that was century. Now let me tell you about this lesson. In this lesson there is one man, and for that man our author use one particular word, and that word is giant. Okay, actually exactly what is the meaning of giant? Who is a very tall, big, what can we say, huge. In Marathi और हिंदी राक्षस है ना. giant का meaning क्या होता है? राक्षस. But in this or in your lesson there is not that like person. वहाँ पे कोई राक्षस वगैरह नहीं है ना. नहीं तो लोगों को बताते फिरोगे हमें राक्षस का लेसन है. Actually in that lesson there is one person. That person our author refer or describe that name giant. Why he described that name? Okay, what is the reason behind it? Now when we will start this lesson, so we will understand automatically. Okay, so without wasting our time we shall start it. Let's see. Now you know very well about your book is changed. Okay, now your first lesson, that name is the selfish giant. The selfish giant is a short story about a giant who lives alone in his castle, which has a beautiful garden. He is selfish and dislikes children, but when spring refused to visit his garden, he learned to appreciate children and grow to love them immensely. Means for that, actually our author describe about that person. He live alone. वो अकेला ही रहता था उसके कैस्टल में, है ना. उसके कैस्टल में वो अकेला ही रहता था, और जनरली राक्षस भी अकेले ही रहते हैं. That's why our author given that name. ठीक है ना. Are you getting my points? Okay. Now let's talk about our author के बारे में अभी हम कुछ पढ़ते हैं. Let's see. You know all about that name. What is that name? Oscar Wilde. Okay. Now just see, Oscar Wilde was a prolific Irish author who wrote plays नाटक. उन्होंने बहुत सारे नाटक भी लिखे हैं. Plays, fiction, imaginary plays. We can call it imaginary plays, fiction, essays, epigrams and poetry. He graduated from Oxford University. Let's see. He graduated from Oxford University. Who? Oscar Wilde. Now, and was one of the most popular playwright of his time. And at that time is what? In this duration. At that time is what? In this duration he was playwrights. Okay, means playwrights वो एक बहुत बड़े या फिर महान नाटककार थे उस वक्त. At that duration. Okay, at that times we can call it at that times he was playwrights. Now he took an active part in the fashionable society of London and depict its costumes and habits in his plays with great humor. Okay, whatever he has done, so it was totally great humor. उन्होंने काफी विनोद से, फैशनेबल से उन्होंने he just done that all activity. Now he also wrote moral stories for children. Okay, he also wrote moral stories for children. The Selfish Giant was part of his collection, The Happy Prince and Other Tales. published in 1888. Okay, it means that now we just complete introduction about our author, who is Oscar Wilde. Okay, and now we shall continue our lesson. Just see, there is one person in this lesson. There is one person, we can call it giant. Okay, he just live alone. He hate to children. Okay, he hate to children. Now, just see. I'm just start this lesson. Just focus in your book. Every afternoon, as they were coming from school, the children used to go and play in the giant's garden. Okay, means every day in noon time, means afternoon, all children, they used to play in a garden, but that garden was of giant garden. Okay, क्योंकि वो garden उस giant person का था. Okay, so it was a large, lovely garden with soft green grass. Now, our author described about that garden. How was that garden? That garden was large, काफी बड़ा था. That garden was large and lovely. Why it was lovely? Because on that garden or on that surface there was lovely flowers, plant and grass also. Lovely flowers, plants and grass also. That's why it looks a very lovely garden. Okay, it was a large lovely garden with soft green grass. Here and there over the grass stood beautiful flowers like stars, and there were 12 peach trees. Now, he just described about on that garden or at garden there were 12 peach trees. Okay, there were 12 peach trees. That in the springtime. Springtime means what? That Vasant Ritu. Now you can see outside. अभी जो हमारा ऋतु चल रहा है, that is springtime. You can see outside at plant tree. So you can observe when you just watch or just carefully observe the tree, so that all trees become a blossom. नियर अबाउट सारे ट्रीज को क्या आया है? एक बहार आया है ना. इट लुक अ टोटली ग्रीनी, है ना. इट लुक टोटली ग्रीनी. वो काफी हरे भरे दिख रहे हैं आजकल के ट्री, है ना. और काफी ट्री को तो फ्लावर्स भी आए हैं, है ना. और ये सब कुछ वॉट एवर दिस हैपन व्हेन इट हैपन इन स्प्रिंग टाइम, है ना. स्प्रिंग टाइम में ये होता है. इन द स्प्रिंग टाइम broke out into delicate blossom of pink and pears, and in the autumn bore rich fruits. Or autumn Sharad Ritu, springtime Vasant Ritu, springtime Vasant Ritu and autumn Sharad Ritu. Sharad Ritu में क्या आते हैं? Fruits आते हैं. Okay, the birds sat on the trees and sang so sweetly that the children used to stop their games to listen to them. When that all children, when they were playing in a ground on a ground, so that times what happened? That all atmosphere is totally greeny, right? Totally greeny. So that all atmosphere is totally full of joy and happiness atmosphere, right? So all what can we say? That all birds sat on a branches on a tree and they singing a song. So that times when they singing a song, so that times all children stop their playing. And they were listening that song. वो उनका खेलना स्टॉप करते थे और वो जो पंछी गाना गा रहे थे उसको सुनते थे, है ना. उनको सुनते थे. Then how happy we are here. Just see, in this sentence, in the last, they use exclamation mark, है ना. So how happy we are here. हम कितना खुश है यहाँ, या फिर यहाँ पर हम कितना खुश है. वो बच्चे एक दूसरे को बोल रहे हैं. They cried to each other, वो एक दूसरे को बोल रहे, ठीक है ना. नाउ वन डे द जायंट केम बैक टू हिज कैस्टल. He had been to visit his friend the Cornish oak and had stayed with him for 7 years. Now just see. I just explained first paragraph. It was small paragraph. In that small paragraph, our author described about children's feelings as well as how was that garden. How was that garden? Our author described. Okay, and that all children were happy, in that garden. But one day, what happened? One day, that giant, means that person, okay, that giant come back. Okay, one day the giant came back to his castle. He just came back to his castle. He had been to visit his friend the Cornish oak and had stayed with him for 7 years. Okay, so one day he came back and our author described about that giant. He just visit to his friend. He just visit to his friend for 7 years. 7 साल के लिए वो उसके दोस्त को मिलने गया था. वो वही रहा. Where? At his friend house. उसके दोस्त के यहाँ पे वो रहा. Who? Giant, है ना? Who? Giant. When he arrived, he saw the children playing in the garden. And when he came back, so that time he just observed. When he arrived, he saw the children playing in the garden. He saw near about or all children playing in the garden. So that time, what are you doing here? He cried in a very gruff voice, and the children run away. Okay, means when he arrived or when he came back, so that time he saw children playing in the garden. Children is playing in the garden. So that time he just cried or shouted in a gruff voice. ऐसे जोर से आवाज से बोला, what are you doing here? Right? So that time when that voice heard children, okay, so that times all children run away. वो वहां से भाग गए, है ना? वो वहां से भाग गए. Again he said, my own garden is my own garden. Okay, my own garden is my own garden, said the giant. I will allow nobody to play in it but myself. He said, this is my own garden, so I will not allow you for playing here. He just said in gruff voice, काफी से थोड़ा जोर से चिल्लाते हुए धमकाते हुए उसने जोर से बोला. Then so he built a high wall all round it and put up a notice board. When he just saw that all children were playing in that garden, so that times he was shouted on that side or on their children's. Okay, on their children's. So that times he just built a wall. उसने क्या किया? What he done? He just built one wall. उसने एक wall compound बांध दिया. He just built wall compound. Okay. Now, and he just put up a notice board और वहाँ पे एक notice board लगा दिया, है ना? So let's see what was that notice. That notice was trespassers will be prosecuted. Trespassers will be prosecuted. बाहर लोगों का आना ना है ना? He just make their notice. Okay. Now we just complete our first paragraph. I hope you just understood this first paragraph. It is a very simple paragraph. In this paragraph, we have said there is one person. We can call it giant. Okay. He where he just lived or where he was lived in his castle. So in front of that castle there was a very lovely, beautiful garden, and in that garden, in afternoon time, they were playing children. Okay, they were playing children. But after 7 years, that giant came back, arrived, है ना? वो वापस आया. कितने सालों के बाद? After 7 years, right? After 7 years, he came back and he just shouted on that children, है ना? Shouted on that children. Clear है? And he just built a wall around the garden, and he just keep their notice board. I hope you just understood this much. In next video, we shall continue. Okay, till then, see you, bye.